Welcome back. Okay, so today we're going to focus on the login system. Now, I run a server from AWS at the moment, which has Plesk installed on it. You can do all this locally, but with Plesk then I've created a database called Finance App, and it opens in PHP my admin. Now, if you do need help setting this up locally, please send me a comment and I'll create a little tutorial on how to do this locally on your machine with XAMPP or WAMP, depending if you're running a Mac or Windows. Anyway, let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing we need to do with the login system is let's create a table. We'll call this users. 4 columns be okay for now. We can add to this later on. It's not one of those things where you create it and then you can't append to it. We definitely can later on. Okay, so user ID, username. We want that as a varchar, which is basically string. Password. I'm going to set this to excuse me, the highest, which is 255, because I'll probably end up hashing this later, but for the time being I'm not going to. And let's do a created app and date time. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, there's nothing in our table, but it's definitely okay for now. Right, so let's get to our editor and let's create the login PHP. Now this is going to be in the main folder, so okay, I'm not going to use the styling and stuff with the login form because I'll probably style that slightly differently. If you can hear my thing pinging, I do apologize. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to start a session. And then we're going to check if someone is already logged in. A bit slower than I normally would be with programming because I've built so many of these. I normally just steal the code that I've previously written. I store everything in a library. Nope. Okay, so if is set the session logged in and logged in is equal to true, and basically we just want to they're already, that means the person's already logged in. They don't need to log in again, so we'll just push them to the index page, which is our home page. Okay, so from here now we're gonna require the config file. The config file, if you remember, is our connection to the database. So that is in includes config. So what we're doing now, we're defining variables, and then we're going to initiate them with empty values. What are we going to do? I've done double quotes. I normally single quote everything. Okay, so now we need to process the form which we're about to create. So when you hit the form, it obviously calls a file. We're actually going to get it to call this file, so we need all the PHP code to be at the top of the file here. And the form, which we'll see shortly, the action on the form is going to be post, which is equal to this. Okay, so just catch an error here. Okay, so basically what this bit here is doing, we're trimming, maybe a post variable would be handy here. So when we create the text box, we're going to call it username. So, excuse me, I got a bit of a cough. So when we got the username, they click the save or submit button or login button. It will come. This will identify the form, and then this will see if the username is empty, and we're trimming white space here. If the username is empty, please enter a username, else let's store that username that they have submitted. And we're going to do the exact same thing here for password. Okay, and yep, forgot to change these. Beautiful. Okay, so now we need to validate the credentials. And you can notate this as you go along. Like I've done this many times now, so something like check password exists. So notating, especially when you first start programming, I definitely advise doing it, just so that when you go back looking over code, like a couple of months time, you know exactly what everything's doing. And it makes it easier if you want to steal your own code later on, save writing things twice. But definitely at the beginning, I do advise to type everything out the long way, like I'm doing now. Like I said, I could easily go to a different system that I've created and get all this. But the more you type it out at the beginning, it just becomes muscle memory. Okay, so that's enough of me waffling on. So now we're going to validate if the username is empty, or that variable is empty. So basically, if there's no errors here, let's proceed. Okay, so we're going to have call MySQL. Going to call the database. Select. May as well select everything at this point. Actually, I need to put those in a double quote. Select everything from users. Username equals not minus, that's equals. And we're using MySQL, but using an upgraded version, which is MySQLi. What we're trying to prepare. Just bear with me on this one at the moment. It'll all make sense in a bit. Okay, now we've asked it to bind the MySQL parameters, so let's set them. MySQLi TMP. What do I want to do? Execute. Okay. Where am I? MySQL STMT. We stored the result. Yes, we've stored the result. So we need to check the number of rows. Definitely, right, we're checking the number of rows, see if it comes back with a result. If it does, I really should just make a function to make this a lot smaller. I might do that later on. Just bind the result to that, make the ID, username, and do you know what? I will do the hash password now. Move up a bit. Now we can bring in, these are predefined, anything white, beg your pardon, is predefined PHP functions and classes. So they do have a password verify one. Just checking if we're hashed here. Brilliant. I like to call that hashed password, not hash. Okay, so if the password is correct, then we start the session. And now we're going to define the session variables. So logged in, this is what we done earlier, will now become true. That's if the parameters are correct, if the user put in the right, correct details. We're going to set, let's set the user ID, which we've put here. Except we will probably end up refactoring some of this as we go later on, but that happens in programming all the time. I like to get my variables just tidied up a little bit. Okay, so basically if everything goes through and is correct, then we're gonna redirect the user to our index page, which is our home page. Else we're gonna pass a login error, invalid username, and it's not and, it could be or password. Okay, now we do have, come in here, which if, okay, so if the number of rows, is that one correct? Yeah, so if there are no number of rows, okay, then we're going to give a very similar error, else. I'm just going to pass this one through. And this one is execute command. Yeah, let's pass an error logger in there too. We'll just put this on the screen. And then, oops. I know, cry for help. Okay, and in there, let's just double check. What? Yeah. Okay, so in here, then we'll just close the statement. I know this one is a bit long-winded, and then we're going to close the connection. Okay, don't think I've defined link yet, have I? I'm getting an error for link. Do you know why? It's because we called it DB, not link. Okay. So I'm just doing a quick replace. That's better. Okay. Okay, cool. So that is the PHP function. I'm going to stop the video there, let you go over it. In the next video, we will then build the form, the login form. Okay, brilliant. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.